Of all the childhood stories we grew up with, few are more beloved than Little Red Riding Hood. A sweet girl, a big bad wolf, a daring rescue, and a happily ever after. At least that's how Disney told it. But here's the thing. The original story wasn't nearly as sweet. In fact, it was downright horrifying. And the wolf? It might not have been a wolf at all. It might have been a human monster. Today we're diving deep into the real origins of Little Red Riding Hood, a tale soaked in blood, deception, and survival. Buckle up because it's going to get dark. Let's start with the version most of us know. A little girl wearing a red hood walks through the woods to visit her sick grandmother. She meets a charming wolf, naively tells him where she's going, and he races ahead, eats the grandmother, and waits for the girl. He almost devours her too, but at the last minute, bam! A hunter bursts in, saves them both, and everything's tied up with a neat, happy ending. The moral? Don't talk to strangers. Cute, wholesome, exactly what you'd want for a bedtime story. But the original? Yeah, it wasn't that. Here's where things get even more twisted. In some of the oldest oral traditions, especially in parts of France and Italy, the wolf wasn't always a literal wolf. Sometimes he was just a man, a human predator hiding behind a friendly face. In these brutal versions, Little Red Riding Hood doesn't just encounter danger. She's lured into a trap. By the time she arrives at what she believes is her grandmother's house, her real grandmother is already dead. And then things get even darker. The wolf, now fully disguised, serves her a mysterious meal, a plate of strange meat and a glass of deep red wine. Little Red, tired and hungry from her journey, doesn't think to ask. She eats without questioning what the meat might be or what the wine might really contain. After the meal, the wolf invites her to get into bed, sealing her fate. In most of these older versions, there's no clever escape, no miraculous rescue. Little Red Riding Hood vanishes into the darkness. This wasn't a bedtime story. It was a brutal survival warning wrapped in the skin of a fairy tale. Now fast forward to 1697. Charles Perrault publishes Histoires ou contes du temps passé, the first literary version of Little Red Riding Hood. And in his version, there's no miracle rescue either. The wolf meets Little Red in the woods, tricks her into taking the longer path, then races ahead, devours the grandmother, and waits for her arrival. When Little Red gets there, she's eaten alive. End of story. But Perrault doesn't just tell a tale. He nails the message home with a brutal moral. There are real wolves who are perfectly charming, quiet, polite, unassuming, complacent, and sweet, who pursue young women at home and in the streets. And unfortunately, it is these gentle wolves who are the most dangerous of all. In other words, the real danger isn't some monster hiding in the woods. It's the charming face you trust without question. Perrault wasn't trying to entertain. He was issuing a survival warning, thinly disguised as a fairy tale. Not every version ends in tragedy, though. In some Italian folktales, Little Red proves just a little smarter. When the wolf invites her to bed, she quickly makes an excuse. I need to go outside to use the bathroom. The wolf, thinking he's already won, lets her leave. But of course, she doesn't come back. She runs for her life, escaping into the woods and leaving the wolf behind. In these versions, the moral shifts slightly. Sometimes survival isn't about strength or fate, it's about wit. Knowing when to think fast, lie smart, and get out while you can. So, why would anyone tell children stories this dark? Because fairy tales weren't meant to be entertainment. They were survival guides, lessons about how the world really works, hidden behind fantasy. Don't trust strangers. Stay alert. Use your brain, not just your heart. Little Red Riding Hood wasn't a fantasy. It was a warning. And honestly, it still is. Little Red Riding Hood is still warning us, even today. The world isn't always kind. And sometimes to survive, you have to be smart. You have to see the wolf for what he is, even if he's not wearing fur. Once upon a minute, in the next tale, a mirror that never lied, a queen who couldn't age, and a girl whose beauty became a death sentence. The untold story of Snow White. Subscribe and turn on notifications.